NAT stands for Network Address Translation, sometimes referred to as port forwarding. In some routers it is referred to as gaming, but basically it allows a public IP, which is your internet address, to access something that is on a private IP address behind your router and behind your firewall. Let's find out how. Okay, so let's say that this cloud represents the internet. Okay, and over on this side we're going to have New York. And New York has got its own little router going on over here. So you've got the WAN side with a public IP. Let's say that's 10.10.10.10. And the routers typically have a bunch of LAN connections, local area connections down here. We'll put a PC over here, and we'll say that's 192.168.1.5, for example. The router can have its own address, local address, which is going to be the gateway. In this case, we're going to call it 192.168.1.1. If you notice, everything's going to be .1 network over on this side. Okay, so over on the other side of the country, we're going to have California. Let's say somebody's over here. And of course, he's going to have his own little router. And it's going to have its own WAN address with the public IP. And there's going to be some PCs over on this side with their own local address numbers and things like that. The numbers on this side are not really relevant to what we need. To access our device, which is going to be New York, from California, we'll need to set up port forwarding so that we can get through this public IP to our private IP address. Okay, so in our example, let's suppose in New York we have an IP address for our iBoot. Doesn't matter if it's a G2 or whatever version we have. The unit is going to have a local IP address of 192.168.1.150. Okay, we program that using our local PC, setting up as 150. Let's suppose we're also going to set up a separate port that isn't a web port or a telnet port. So we're going to choose port, in this example, 5456. 5456. Okay, so that's how our unit is going to be locally accessed, on that port and that local IP number. We log on to our router and we're going to set up port forwarding. You'll probably need to go to your router's specific website to get support on how to set up port forwarding for your specific router. But in general, you use your PC that is local to the device and log directly onto the IP address that is your gateway. So you open a web browser up and enter in the 192.168.1.1, and it will ask you for a username and password. You enter that in, which is the default for your router, and in there you're looking for port forwarding, NAT translation, sometimes it's called gaming, depending on the router. After you've gone into that section, you basically pull down the IP address for our device, which in this case is 192.168.1.150, and you tell it to redirect port 5456, which is the port that we've selected, to go from the public IP. Any requests for that port to the public IP from the internet are to be redirected to our local IP. Now that's set up in the router, and your router company has lots of examples, I'm sure, on how to set up the port forwarding for that specific device. Now that we've set up port forwarding in New York, let's go to California and access our device. In our web browser on our PC in California, we would type in the address http:// the public IP for New York, which in this case is 10.10.10.10, and because we have a non-standard web port, we're going to put a colon after the 10 and specify the port that we programmed, which is 5456. 5456. We need to type the entire address in because we don't have a standard web port 80. So you can't get away with typing 10.10.10.10 5456. You have to type the HTTP colon, or the browser will not know what kind of language to use when it translates the page. Once you enter the IP address into your computer in California, it will request through your router to the internet for the public IP address of 10.10.10.10. Once your router sees that request for port 5456, it will tell the iBoot, hey, something's asking for your username and password. It will then send to your browser a username password request. You enter in your username and password, and you are now logged onto the iBoot and control whatever power is plugged into the iBoot. That's how port forwarding works. Of course, now that you can access your iBoot from California, you can actually access it from anywhere in the world. Same technique. Open up a browser, type in the address, and there you are.